So this is our trebuchet with the arm and the counterweight, which is a swinging counterweight, which is why it's a swinging counterweight trebuchet.
Inside the counterweight, we filled it with lead scuba diving weights to make sure we have enough weight, and in a small compact area because the box isn't the biggest box.
So, as you can see by looking at it, we obviously made our trebuchet mostly out of wood, and it's held together with pretty much a bunch of nails from a nail gun. We used a bolt with some nuts on it to allow it to swing, which just basically keep the bolts are there, or the nuts keep it from moving around on the bolt. And we have the large triangle support sort of thing here to keep it from shaking itself apart every time it fires our lead counterweight. And when you load it, you lock it in with a nail right here to keep it from launching on its own until you want to. It usually doesn't do that.
The building of the trebuchet went by pretty well. The only problem that we really had is that the arm, whenever it launches, it just scratches against the side, and also the sling was the only flaw basically that didn't allow us to fire. Due to the sling not being able to grip the golf ball so well, it could only shoot the golf ball around 8 meters before it hit the ground.
So one of the other big problems we had with our trebuchet is that while we were making alterations to the weight and the length of the sling and all that, while trying to fire at 15 meters or so today, we noticed that our range suddenly decreased after adding weight, and this confused us a lot because adding weight should not decrease the range that the projectile flies. If anything, it should increase it. But that had us really confused for a while. At first, we just reset it, and then it didn't help because when we added more weight, it completely screwed up the counterweight, which made the counterweight scrape against the bottom of the trebuchet every single time we fired it, which of course is not good for the trebuchet, and also it decreased the efficiency of the trebuchet massively. And because it decreased the efficiency, the projectile began to go a lot shorter in distance. It went from something like 11 meters to 8 meters, which is pretty bad. But the reason this happened is because while the counterweight was scraping against the bottom of the trebuchet, the projectile, while it was trying to leave, the counterweight was scraping against the bottom of the trebuchet as the projectile was trying to leave, which of course decreased the speed that the projectile left the trebuchet at, which in essence reduced the range that the projectile flew. And because of this, we ended up taking a hammer to the counterweight and smashing it back into place. Of course, after we smashed our counterweight back into place, we still were unable to make the full 20 meters that we were going for because of our sling and our trebuchet's poor efficiency in the first place. Though it did help, and it got us close to something much closer to 12 meters or 11 meters than the 8 or 7 we were getting before. Simply because the counterweight was no longer scraping against the bottom of the trebuchet, the efficiency went back up to the poorness that it was before and allowed us to make our final.
This whole project was filled with a lot of critical thinking, so that was probably the hardest part for me.
The hardest part of this project was the path report and finding out that we had to type it up the day before it was due.
What wasn't hard about it? I think the hardest part would have to be the path report. If you messed up on one thing, then you would mess up on the rest of the path report.
I think the most difficult part of the project was the path report.